Man will think he's so special because you hyperfixated on him just because you have ADHD. 2 weeks later, she doesn't even care about him, but he already gained the confidence of having the baddie's attention. He's no different than a hyperfixation meal. He's no different than the mac and cheese that you ate for the last 3 weeks and then got sick of. She wasn't even attracted to him. He just gave her something unexpected, maybe an unexpected compliment, and that's all it took to get her obsessed, because dopamine is based on what's unexpected. An ADHD girl craves dopamine and she gets obsessed with whatever gives it to her. This is why if you have ADHD, you have to wait for the obsession to end before you get into a relationship. You have to know if it's a hyperfixation or if it's genuine feelings. Otherwise, you're just attracted to a medium ugly guy just because it was unexpected. And I genuinely think this is why so many baddies are with medium ugly guys, because baddies have ADHD. And this is where they all got the audacity from some baddie hyperfixating on them.
ADHD love hyperfixations can sometimes look like the love bombing that you would expect from a narcissist. And the woman's slightly condescending tone towards men here doesn't make the video any better when you take into account the fact that some people conflate the love bombing from narcissists with the hyperfixations from somebody who has ADHD. So I don't really like that from the woman. But either way, I digress. Let's talk about ADHD in women, the struggles that you could have while dating, and the fact that many women are living with undiagnosed ADHD, so they're not aware of the fact that they're exhibiting these behaviors. So for anyone who has ADHD, when you're getting to know somebody, it is helpful to go slow. You want to go slow because you're not sure whether it's a love hyperfixation or whether you're genuinely interested in them. And if you hyperfixate on a food or a movie or a hobby, that's cool. But hyperfixating on a person and dropping them doesn't feel good for either party. If you are the party on the receiving end, you feel like you've been used. And if you're the person who is dropping the person, you feel bad because you were genuinely into them, or so it seemed. And all of a sudden, that spark is gone. And it's as if it was never there. Now, even though you see this in men and women with ADHD, women who have ADHD, when they're diagnosed about 4 years on average after men. And some women never receive diagnosis until they're 30, 40, 50, and sometimes even later. So because you don't have a diagnosis, which is just a term that explains the majority of the behaviors that you exhibit, you blame yourself and you start to feel like you're a narcissist. There are many women out there who feel like they're bad people because they get obsessed with somebody. And after a couple of weeks go by, you no longer have that thing that you had for them. And it's weird because in the beginning, you swore that this was your person. You just knew that the connection was genuine and it was deep and you'd never felt this before. And then after a couple of weeks goes by, you're like, oh no, it happened again. The darn thing happened again. I had interest and it just went away out of nowhere. And it didn't just leave. What happened was that the dopamine wore off. When you have ADHD, you crave new experiences. You want novelty. You want the unexpected surprise. You have to be kept on your toes and you can't be bored. Boredom with ADHD is almost like death, or so it seems. You feel like you have to be stimulated every single moment. And if you're not stimulated, you feel like you have to go on to something that gives you some type of stimulation. For all my fellas out there, we can definitely experience the same thing because ADHD is ADHD and you want new experiences, novelty, a sense of urgency. It's the same thing, whether you're a man or a woman. And I've experienced this personally. And what I've done is I've created a set of rules for myself. Whenever I'm into a new girl and I feel like she's going to be the one and I go through the whole process, I implement rules for myself that allow me to go slow so that if in fact it is a hyperfixation, there's no awkward ending where I just kind of pull back. So one thing that I do is I force myself to not spend more than 1 day a week with a new girl that I'm dating. Max two, but no more than 1 to 2 days a week. And the reason why you have to place these rules in place is because if you spend every single day with this person, you're going to develop a bond. I could give you a cat or a dog or some pet, and you could be somebody who isn't a pet person. But if you spend every single day with this pet for 3 weeks, you're going to want to keep it. So putting a limit on the time that you spend with somebody in the early stages, for me, is absolutely mandatory. Something else that I do that I would highly recommend is also making sure that your life goes on per usual. Make sure you don't make any big deviations to your schedule. Don't drop a big commitment to see this person. Or don't stop hanging out with your friends to spend time with this person. Because you want to make sure that this person can fit into your actual life. It's not just a fling for 2 weeks. Or maybe if that's what you want it to be, fine. But if you want this to go all the way, you don't want it to be a 2-week rendezvous or 3.5-week whirlwind romance where it's amazing, but you know it's going to end. And regardless of how you feel about the person, whether you're a man or a woman, you have to understand that if you want a long-term relationship, there's going to be a point where inevitably the romance looks like it's died. There's no more dopamine and you're living with the person. You might be married to them and you have some boring days. Can you push past those boring days? Can you find ways to make those boring days exciting? Can you find ways to entertain yourself? and have them entertain themselves amongst each other's company. Doing this will increase your confidence that you can have a fulfilling long-term relationship. And if you have ADHD like me, you know that can be a challenge, but it is most definitely possible. Keep going.